From 1990 to 1992, and there was a special in the 70s, there was an award show called the Horror Hall of Fame. And basically it was like the Oscars for horror nerds. I've talked about this before. It couldn't have been more perfect, right? It had Robert Englund as the host. You had Elvira there. You had the Crypt Keeper. You had so many different, like, you had Roger Corman appear. Vincent Price had one of his last appearances in public at that show where he got a standing ovation. And they would talk about the history of Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, all of these this great love for horror. It was the Avengers of horror stuff. But it only went for 3 years, sadly. And it kind of sucks. But I've been thinking, what if we brought it back? What if we brought the Horror Hall of Fame back? And how would we do it? Now, I know what you're going to say. Multi, that's ridiculous. Horror doesn't have that much staying power these days. That's why it died after 3 years. Have you been paying attention? Have you just been not paying attention to what's going on in horror now? The best movie of the year is a horror movie. That's Obsession. And didn't a horror movie win an Oscar? Win some Oscars a few years, like last year, or this year, I should say. And the previous year, you had The Substance be an Oscar nominee, named there. Sounded like Porky Pig there for a second. Oscar nominated movie right there. So I'm just telling you, horror has made an impact and has some serious staying power. So here's how I think the Horror Hall of Fame should return. First off, I think it should show up during award season. Well, actually, no, I take that back. It should show up for... actually, no, let's keep it award season, just as a middle finger to the elite class. And then what should happen is that what should happen next, you get every horror actor and director out there. I'm talking, we actually would have, because they would have basically inductions into the Horror Hall of Fame. That's where they inducted, Bela, Boris, and I think Lon Chaney was the last one, if I remember right, in the third one. The third one is shorter, and it's not as good as the other two, but I digress. So, you induct this time around the Hammer film. The only one from the 70s era was Vincent Price, who got the induction from that era. So for the first one, I would say do inductions for both Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Then if you get another year, that's when you do Kane Hodder and Robert Englund. Yeah. Or you could do all four, honestly. You could do all four because they would have the special would be like an hour and a half long. At least that's how I would have it. Yeah. So in my opinion, that's how it should go. Now, where would this be? Well, we bring it back to Universal Studios. We bring it back. It was filmed in Universal Studios Hollywood. I don't know if they have that stage anymore because they had a whole movie stage that was used for like a special effects show. So I don't know if that's still there or not. But you've got a bunch of backlots in Universal Studios Hollywood. And here's the thing to sweeten the deal, Universal, to anyone listening. You bring it back and you make it a Peacock exclusive. I know, exclusive streaming. But here's the thing, though. The reason being is because horror fans will eat anything. You have already got a set-in audience. And when you say horror award show and you talk about like all the people that are going to be there, then guess what? You're going to have an audience in there already. And to top that off, Peacock is just not the best streaming service. Let's be real. How many times am I going over there only to watch Sunday Night Football and maybe a few exclusives? And the only thing that was really feels like that was carrying them was Ted. I'm sorry. As much as I love Universal Studios, Peacock ain't that great. So this, I think, to the random uh, to the somehow random board member of Universal Studios perusing YouTube. There's your idea to keep Peacock alive, I guess. So for who could show up, you bring in like David Howard Thornton, you bring in Jordan Peele, all of these great actors and directors. Now for a host, we had Robert Englund host the last three that were back in the 90s, but he's unfortunately a little too old. So who should be the host this time around? I feel like the host that should be, I feel like you could get, oh God, why am I blanking on her name? Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis should be the host. She's the original Scream Queen. She's been in so many horror franchises. Obviously, that right back there, Halloween, and she's been tied synonymously to horror. So I think Jamie Lee Curtis should be the host, and she's funny too. I think you need a host that has some humor and energy to them. So Jamie Lee Curtis, I would pick as the host. If not her, just to see how you would do it, David Howard Thornton would be the other one. That would be the other pick for the host. But I would say bring in Jordan Peele for horror director, or Curry Barker for his work in Obsession. I'm going by this year, picks for this year is what I'm thinking. Inductees, of course, like Christopher Lee, remembering Peter Cushing, all of that good stuff. As for all the gags, we could talk about Stan Winston's achievements. We can talk about, since this is Universal, we could talk about the achievements of the universe. We could actually, because they never did this, for horror inductee, I would say Jack Pierce. That's enough for horror movie makeup, and talk about Jack Pierce's life. Because I actually didn't know this. When they were inducting Bela Lugosi, they talked about his career in Hungary first, because he was a very well-known actor in Hungary. He was a big actor. And the dude actually played Jesus in a movie. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Dracula was Jesus. Somehow I feel like that's a movie in of itself. Somewhere out there. Jesusla, or Dracula Jesus, or Dracula Christ. Whatever the fuck. It don't fucking matter. Christula. That's so bad. Anyway, so you could also have Bruce Campbell here. I think that would be cool. I don't know, he's a little too old for hosting, and again, he's battling cancer, unfortunately. So if this was made 5 years ago, I would have said right out the gate Bruce Campbell would be the host. But I feel like it's a little too old, but I do think he should get an inductee at some point, depending on how well these go. Bring in Svengoolie. Svengoolie needs love too, so have him show up in here too. Svengoolie and the rest of the crew should show up too. I feel like they're synonymous as the last line of old horror hosts. Do that. Anyway, and obviously you would need Dead Meat James. James and Chelsea should be part of that show too. Or they already host the Dead Meat Awards, which is the closest we have to that. But it'd be cool if it was an official thing. So have them here too. Maybe, I don't know if I'd want them to host. Maybe, but maybe give out an award. Anyway, so yeah, this is just me rambling. It's just a random thought I had. Sometimes that happens. Anyway, I'm out.